Hey, and welcome to the Leftover Culture Review, the only review show on the internet reviewing retro video games, as far as I can tell. So, it may come as a bit of a shock to some people out there, but I'm a bit of a Sega fanboy. I don't touch many Nintendo things. And you could always pick out which one were the Sega kids at school. They were the funniest, the best looking, and the most awesome, and they could always hook you up with a really awesome game. That's kind of why I started the Leftover Culture Review in the first place. I had so much stuff I just wanted to share with people, and I care about you. I don't want you missing out on good games just because you're Nintendo fanboys. So, I was always a little bit bummed that on the Sega systems, we only ever got two Ninja Turtle games, Hyperstone Heist and Tournament Fighters. I did have a bit of a dark secret though. I owned a Game Boy as a kid. The Game Boy was my first introduction to a lot of those Nintendo characters. I had no idea the NES existed, so the Game Boy was the first time I saw characters like Zelda, Mario, Link, and Samus. Really awesome system, and as I've just recently started discovering, it had some really awesome Ninja Turtle games on it as well. That's what I'm super stoked to talk to you about today. So I've already checked out some really awesome Ninja Turtle games for the Game Boy Advance. For me, the coolest thing was how close they played to the 16-bit games like Turtles in Time. I needed more of that in my life, a hot green turtle injection right into the retro center of my brain. So let's kick this off with 3 awesome reasons why this game would be worth nicking from your friend's house at the risk of his mother finding out, calling your mother and getting you grounded for like 3 weeks. So firstly, there are 4 turtles in this game. Obviously Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael, and the other one, Michelangelo. Michelangelo is my favorite. Anyway, there's 4 turtles and they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. They each play differently when you play through the game. That should be a given for most Ninja Turtle games, you would think, but it's a really reassuring start for a Game Boy game. Like, we are going pretty much back in time. This is like having an NES in your hands, an 8-bit system, and it's just really awesome knowing that they put that time and effort into giving each of the turtles their own sort of play style. Secondly, there is some actual real diversity in the stages here. There's platforming, there's beat 'em up sections, there's the bosses, there's even skateboarding. So it's a full adventure here packed into like one cartridge. And thirdly, I really enjoyed the bosses on this cartridge as well. There is a bunch of bosses for a Game Boy game. There's Baxter Stockman, there's Bebop, there's Rocksteady, there's the Shredder, there's Krang, there's General Trag, and Granitor the Stone Warrior. That one doesn't particularly ring a bell. But there's a lot of bosses right here on this cartridge that really flesh out with that adventure. So it's a full game. It's not a stripped back version of an NES game. It's not a port, it's a full original game, and in my personal opinion, there's a lot more to like here than what we saw on the NES when I'm looking back at it, except for maybe like the Manhattan Project. But that was a pretty cool game. So I wanted to get real here just for a second. I don't need to use the easy mode, but I feel bad using the hard mode for the computer because they just get beaten so easily. And in saying that, there's also a lot of young people who watch the show, and I don't want to set unrealistic expectations for them either. Like, this game is hard, but you don't need to punish yourself. So I'll be playing through in easy mode. Alright, that's stretching the truth a little bit. I'm playing through in easy mode just because I really want the gameplay footage to look good, and I really enjoy playing my games and winning them as well. So the great thing here though is if you are really stoked about the game and you do want to play through in hard mode, the bosses become more challenging, their movesets become different, and their patterns also become different in the attack. So this is like one of the first times I've seen in a Game Boy game where it's really worth playing through for yourself again in hard mode if you really enjoyed easy and normal, just because the challenge itself becomes a lot more real. It's not just less health, it's not that enemies do more damage, it's that the bosses themselves actually change their attacks and patterns. That was really cool. So look, in saying that, I don't have too much to say about the game itself, except that I was really surprised to find such a full adventure here on the Game Boy. There are 2 other Ninja Turtle games for the Game Boy, Radical Rescue as well as the first one, Attack of the Foot Clan. For me, it was just really cool having another way to go back into the old cartoon series, like with the bosses and the stages. There's a lot of diversity here, and I really appreciate the flashback. I used to watch that cartoon so freaking much as a kid. Really cool game, well worth checking out if you're a Ninja Turtles fan. If you want more Ninja Turtles action, I've covered plenty of Ninja Turtles stuff before here on the show, so definitely worth checking out the Game Boy Advance games. They had a really cool retro vibe, very reminiscent of the Super Nintendo obviously, but really great gameplay, and I really enjoyed playing through those games, and I still keep picking them up today, as well as a comparison between the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive games. So the Mega Drive got Hyperstone Heist, the Super Nintendo got Turtles in Time. Both systems got Tournament Fighters, but all four games are considerably different to each other and all well worth checking out on their own merit. So with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully that you enjoyed watching, I guess. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Leftover Culture Review. Cheers! Hey, and welcome to the Leftovers channel. Today I wanted to show off my very own sewer lair for the Ninja Turtles. This is one project that I've just had to keep revisiting. After getting hooked on the original Lego sewer lair and picking up a few of the cartoon and movie Ninja Turtle sets from Lego, I wanted to think about integrating them together into this one massive set. That became this set.